to inspect it.
Hello and welcome back to Paranormal Perspectives. My name is Stan, and tonight we have Brian here with us. Brian, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, fantastic. It's great to have another person from the US. I've been getting to know a few people from the US over the last few episodes. We had Patrick Welsh from the Paranormal Society of Savannah a few weeks ago. I don't know if you know him though, but really nice guy. Really
I love Savannah too. Beautiful town. I've been there several times.
I would love to go there. Honestly, I would do. And just for the viewers here, so Brian is featured. So did you write, or you're a part of the Experience that Inspired Ghostwriter? Is that correct?
Yeah. So the just to give a quick background on just kind of how the book came to be. A little background on myself. A long time ago, in the year 2001 or two, around there, I wrote comedy for a radio show in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I did it from home. I was actually a stay-at-home dad at the time, so it was like the perfect opportunity for me to just, create and write. And so I did that for like 4 years, I believe. But the guy I wrote for retired, and I was just really just kind of bummed out because it was my creative outlet. I loved doing it. I had a passion for it. I mean, I would just always think of bits to write, always think of things to do for the show. And it went really well. But when that went away, it was like a big thing was just ripped from me, like just a creative void. It's just I had no outlet anymore for the creativity. So that year, actually, I was feeling sorry for myself, and I got a 4-leaf clover tattoo just because I needed all the luck I could get for another. Yeah, thank you. It's pretty faded now, but whatever. So I got it, as a good luck charm because I needed some good luck to maybe find another writing job, which is really hard when you write for comedy radio. There's not a whole lot of that out there anymore. But also as a reminder of that I was in a good spot in life. I had a good family, I had good friends, everything was going well, so I shouldn't feel sorry for myself. But so I got that in 2007. Jumped to 2024. My wife and I move into a home in Fort Worth, Texas, that we had no clue was haunted. It was built in 1911, and we had some weird things happen pretty much right after we moved in, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. But I found out that there was a former writer for the New York Times who actually broke the story that nylon was invented by DuPont in 1939. He actually broke the front page story, and that was kind of his claim to fame. But after that happened, he disappeared and was missing for like 3 years. I have like the newspaper articles where they couldn't find him and he just disappeared. Then he showed up, and they finally found him in Fort Worth, Texas. And then he ended up getting married and had family here. But he actually had a wife and a family back when he worked for the New York Times. So something happened in his life after he dropped that column where he just disappeared and ended up here in Fort Worth. And he passed away in my family room on March 17th, 1977. And March 17th for people in America is St. Patrick's Day. So when I found out a former writer passed away on St. Patrick's Day and I had that 4-leaf clover tattoo, I felt so inspired to find out more and more about the home and started just figuring out how this could turn into a book. And I'm not a book writer. I have no skill in writing books. I can write skits and one-liners and all that kind of stuff, but writing a book is a different animal. But I found a childhood friend that is an author of children's books who hates scary stuff to write the horror novel. And we just kind of played off of the reality of what's going on in my house and my street and just kind of mixed it throughout the book. So that's kind of where I'm at here and meeting with you. So you kind of now understand why this book was written. It would have never been written if I would have never moved here. I would have never found out about Harold. I mean, it's like, we've been told twice. Actually, I've been told by 2 mediums and a paranormal team that they believe strongly Harold is still here, and he's the one influencing and guiding all of this stuff. Getting me to write this. I don't know if it's to get his name back out there in the headlines again, like it was in the New York Times in the late 30s. I don't know what this mission is. I'm just delivering the message for anyone that hears the story, because the story is quite remarkable. And then we'll get into the stuff that's happened in the home. If you want, I can tell you the things that have happened, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of background of who I am. Now I'm creative again. I have an outlet again, and it's this book and it's this I'm planning on the next book and the next book and a prequel. And I mean, I already have like 5 books planned in my mind. Now, getting the author to agree to do those books is going to be another story, but I'll keep working on her. She's actually writing her own style book right now after this one, because it was a lot for her to write, because she truly was really scared of the stuff that she was writing. And it's scary. Actually, it's scarier than my house. So I haven't even read the whole book yet, honestly.
Gosh, that's amazing. It's like, so do you feel like the house itself almost called you there? Because I wonder if it was just there to almost be a catalyst for something bigger, basically. So you see that the medium said that the owner was kind of maybe potentially reaching out. Maybe could you be almost collaborating with the entity that could still be there, so they could be maybe writing vicariously through you, maybe?
Hence the term ghostwriter. Like I was, like my ghostwriter is a true actual spirit who used to write actual columns and actually had the typewriter in the house. I mean, he wrote his financial columns in this house for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram for over 20 years, I believe. And it was a daily column. So he was a really well-known figure in the Fort Worth area back in the 50s and the 60s. He had a column called It's Only Money with Harold Monroe. And I have so many newspaper articles about him and his life. And then when he passed away, how when he was a younger guy working for the Fall River News in Massachusetts, saw Lizzie Borden as an older woman walking down the street being taunted by children, taunting her with a Lizzie Borden chant. Like there's an article that talks about him recalling seeing that. And to me, it's just like mind blowing that this guy he witnessed Lizzie Borden. I mean, this has nothing to do with my house, hopefully, but, so like there's a thing about in the book, we talk about Lizzie Borden a little bit, like, so little things like that, we bring in the reality of what I've experienced and researched into to blending it with the book. So when people actually hear the true story and they read the book, they're like, wow, this is really, I get it. Okay. That's this.
That sounds awesome. Like, just trying to get an idea of like the background, like, because of course I live in the UK. A lot of our watchers are kind of based in the UK. So what kind of property is it, though, for somebody who hasn't really been to like the US? Like, what does it look like? How old is the property?
Fort Worth, Texas is a suburb of Dallas, kind of. Not really a suburb. It's like they call it the Metroplex, DFW, Dallas, Fort Worth. So it's basically just a gigantic area of a lot of people. Fort Worth, though, like there's Dallas and Arlington's kind of in the middle, and then there's Fort Worth on the other side. And Arlington's like where the Cowboys play and the Rangers play. But yeah, Fort Worth is definitely, though, a lot different than Dallas. Dallas is more of like to me, it reminds me of more like Los Angeles kind of vibe. And Fort Worth's got a real old, like West cowboy kind of feel. We're really close to a place called the Fort Worth Stockyards, which is a famous place in Fort Worth. A lot of haunted history there as well. But yeah, so Fort Worth's just a great. It's hot and it's flat, and I mean that's about it, really. Yeah, sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives a good idea, like the setting, because like I grew up in Oxford, and as you know, Oxford's been around for thousands of years, and we have the remnants of a castle and various old buildings there, and like the place is just deep history in terms of like old ghost stories. We have the Hellfire Club, and they're like not that same Hellfire Club from that Netflix show Stranger Things, but it's actually based on this secret society of Oxford University professors who summon the devil, so to speak. And apparently, like the legend goes that one of them went crazy after trying to summon the devil and ran directly into the wall and was never seen again. And whether that's true, story is true or not, who knows? But the whole place is just littered with all these different stories. So in a way, like
when they ran into the wall, did it say 93? When they ran into the wall, sorry to interrupt. When they ran into the wall, did the wall say 9 3/4 by chance? Harry Potter, remember when they run into the 9 3/4 part of the train? And they walk through the wall.
I should have known that one. I should have known that one. No, it's not quite like running into that one, but apparently like it's apparently they ran to like in this vortex apparently and just was never seen again. Like the funny thing is I've been to where it apparently happened. Like there's like a doorway on the other side, and you just get weird vibes there. And I always wonder, like, is it because of the story that I know, or is there something still there? But there are strange places in about that city though, but some places just seem to have a funny energy about them, like wherever you are in the world. It's what makes the place so amazing. So I was going to ask you, like, so you described the area, so like the house itself, where the story is based, like, what kind of a house is it?
Okay, so the neighborhood I live in is actually, it's the biggest collection of historic homes in the Southwest United States. So it's like a really big neighborhood of houses built anywhere from the 1890s to about the 1920s. We have everything from like cottages to mansions. So it's a really eclectic mix of different types of homes, different types of architecture. The home that I'm in was built in 1911. It's a craftsman style bungalow. So it has a lot of actually original features too when we got the house, because it didn't have a lot of owners through the years. So they kept like a lot of the built-in stuff. They kept the pocket doors. They kept the original doors. They kept I had the original floors in all of the house except for the hallway and my bathroom or my bathrooms. So we were lucky enough that when the guy renovated the house, that just it came out as well as it did, because it looked like it should have been condemned before he actually bought it. So, but yeah, that's the house. And then you say when you walk in and you notice like something right away, that feeling of this house, like when I walked through the door, it was that feeling. It was I told my wife, I'm like, this is it. This is the house. We're gonna live this here. And we were still like 6 months. We still had 6 months on a lease on an apartment. And because we moved back to Texas we lived in Florida for a year, then moved back to Texas to be around where our kids live. And so we got an apartment there. We're looking for a house and looking to where to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And ended up again here, and just again, I knew right away, like, this was my house. I just felt it, and now I know why I felt it. So the first thing, if you want to get into like the paranormal stuff that's happened here, I'll start talking about that a little bit. The first thing that my wife and I discovered that we knew was really different was my dog wouldn't sleep in our bedroom. He had always slept in every other bedroom that we've ever had. So it was very unusual for him to not stay in his bed on the floor. So after a few nights, he started going out to the front part of the house every night, and then going in and sleeping in. It's a separate room that they put on as part of the family room, which is just an open room behind me. But when they renovated it, they put a wall up to make it like a little separate bedroom or TV area. So I use it as my TV room and like a little office area, although I'm sitting out here tonight just so I can be out in the open a little bit more. But so yeah, him not sleeping in our bedroom was so unusual. And then after that, shortly, not too far it must have been like maybe a month or so. I'm not sure. It's hard to remember the exact timelines, but we had a curtain in our bathroom pulled back, like somebody was peering out of the curtain. And like, we thought it was the wind, it was this, it was that. But we've done, just to tell you, like, long story short, everything I tell you, we've already gone through the process of debunking like everything, to think of everything that we could what caused that situation. So I'll bypass all that boring stuff, because I could tell you, all that stuff that we did to try to eliminate, something of our doing, but it was not of our doing. And interestingly enough, that's where the psychic medium did say she sees a man who looks out the window in the back. So that was, interesting, because we've also had the curtains on the side of that open up. There's like 4 other windows on the side of that bathroom, and each one opened just barely on each side one night after we got home, and the bathroom doors were closed. The dogs didn't get in. So after that, the next thing that had happened was in the kitchen, and the kitchen my wife was working in one day, and we had a little plastic travel dog bowl that was on the kitchen floor, and it just started wobbling, and like then it's kind of spun. They spin really fast and then stop. And it was behind her. It really startled her. She like got up and she called me in right away. We basically, when something happens to us, we always text each other if she's out of town, or she'll yell at me when I'm in the house somewhere else. And So I walked in the kitchen. She was in there, and we were trying to figure it out. Like if she kicked it, but she was far away. Like there was no way she could have ever kicked it or anything. Interestingly enough, the medium said that there's actually a residual haunting of a lady named Viola who lived here in 1912 through 1915, because she died in 1915. Not in the house. Actually, she was really ill in the house, but went home to Indiana and died at her sister's house. I have the obituary and everything that tells about that. So apparently she's a residual haunting that goes back and forth in the kitchen. And then also in the kitchen, we were told that there was the spirit of Martha, who passed away in our family room. I found out on October 31st, 2009, which is actually Halloween. So Martha was married to Harold, who passed away on March 17th, 1977. Then she passed away in the same room, October 31st, 2009. So she lived here from the late 50s until 2009. And would have been here the most as far as the longest person that's lived in this house. So if anyone we think would be kind of possessive of the kitchen, it's because she doesn't apparently like us in her space when she's in the kitchen. Not that she is mean, but just it's her space. She doesn't like us in there. So we started calling her the kitchen witch as a joke, because we knew she had passed away on Halloween. Witch, Halloween, kitchen witch. And so anytime we go into the kitchen now, we're just like, okay, kitchen witch, we're gonna get ready to make some dinner. All's good. We're not doing anything wrong. And so we just do that all the time now as part of our routine. But when the paranormal investigators were out the second time, they investigated twice. And on the second investigation, they had a bunch of stuff set up in the kitchen, like two REM pod and some kind of strip they put on the floor that detects motion. And then the other ghost paranormal investigator was in our bedroom, I believe, at the time. And she had one of those obulus things, or the talking things that say words. And all of a sudden it said the witch is here. And as it said, the witch is here, the stuff in the kitchen, like the REM pod was going off. The thing was stopping like somebody was walking over it, kind of simultaneously. And we thought it was really interesting because, we told the investigator that we call her the kitchen witch. And it's almost like, the kitchen witch, is here. Ha ha ha. See what I can do, and it wasn't in a bad way, but it was definitely, it definitely was a little eerie. I mean, for sure. It was like, whoa. I mean, that one was pretty wild.
I've watched a few of your clips on TikTok, actually. It's quite a fascinating place.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So I do take everyone to the spots that I'm telling you about, and then I'll tell them the story, like the kitchen witch and, Viola, and in the guest room, that's where the TV shut off twice, and the ball was going off in conjunction to the TV shutting off. And that is where the latest death in the house took place. And that was Walt. He passed away in that room, February 3rd, 2023. My wife and I actually moved into the house, permanently February 4th, 2024, with having no knowledge of Walt passing away in the house. At that point, I think I only knew one death in the house, and that would have been Martha, because I think I found her. She was the latest, person to pass away in 2009. So I found her obituary just Googling it. When I put in the address and stuff, and put I found her. I forgot, I just put her their last name in or something. I forget how I found it, but that was the first person that I found that had passed away here. And then once we moved in, that's when I found the other 4 people that had passed away. So yeah, the TV going off in Walt's room, we call it Walt's room now. The TV went on in our room one time since we lived here with no explanation. The paranormal investigators caught 2 people saying, "Hey," whispering "hey" in our bedroom. There's also a clip I put on TikTok and Instagram of, you'll hear a banging sound coming out of the bathroom, and you'll see a little light shoot out right after the bang. It's really hard to see the light. It's really small, but there was nobody in the bedroom when it happened. And it's definitely, you can hear something dropping and then something shooting out right after it drops in the bathroom. Now, we don't know where the deaths in the bedroom occurred. We don't know if this would have anything to do with the deaths at all. This could be something completely different. You always assume, oh, it's got to be the guy that died in the room. But I don't know. We don't know really who, or have any idea of who might be in the bedroom, other than she thinks it's 2 men one in the bathroom, one in the bedroom. And with the guy in the bedroom is apparently grumpy, but not like harmful, just kind of a grumpy old man. So let's see. Then probably the craziest thing that's happened so far since we've been here is on Christmas Day. We had my family over for Christmas, and my son had put a plastic drinking water bottle on the coffee table, and we were just doing our thing, and he was getting ready to go home later that day. I'd picked up his water bottle, and the water bottle actually was turned upside down on its cap. So it was like the water is still in it, it's closed and balanced, but it was balanced upside down on its cap. And he was just kind of like shook his head, thought, like, what is this? Who did this? And I immediately thought it was my other son playing a prank, because we tell him that stuff's happening. So I thought he was like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna, show them, trick them or whatever. But I may be in comedy and write comedy and stuff, but I wasn't kidding when I tell them, like, you can't, like, this has got to be documented correctly. Don't lie. You know what I mean? I'm taking this very seriously. Excuse me. So they swore up and down that nobody turned it upside down. And it turns out that also the medium that's been here twice now did say something about an elemental in the family room, an elemental spirit. That might tie back to some Indian history on the land. And this is actually Comanche Indian territory. When you talk about going back into history, this used to be Comanche land. And then the settlers came in. So there had been some skirmishes between the settlers and the Comanche. So, I have another paranormal group coming in, different than the ones that usually come. And they're going to, I think, delve into that a little bit as well, the elemental stuff, because I have no idea about any of that stuff. So I'm just going to kind of let them take charge and do whatever they want to investigate, And then the last thing too, in the den, about a month or so ago, my dog and I actually heard somebody whisper hi, and it was definitely a whisper of something saying hi. My dog looked at the same spot that I looked at the same time, and there was a weird thing with my dog earlier in that day in that same spot. And I put that on Instagram. She basically barked earlier at that spot on the couch, jumped down, wouldn't come back in the room for several hours. And then when she finally came back in the room and I was in there, it was quiet. And that's when we heard the whisper of someone saying, hey, or hi. Sorry, the hays were in the bedroom. Got 2 hays and a hi. So, but those are like the big things that really, really happened so far in the house. And again, it's not like demons chasing you. Me levitating off the bed, it's more subtle, but definitely, it's definitely surprising when it happens, and you never know when it's going to happen. Like when you want it to happen, it doesn't happen. When you don't think about it, it seems to happen. I don't know.
It seems to be quite a benign activity, and I can resonate because I grew up in a haunted house as well. But before I mention too much about that, like wanted to ask you, like, all those interactions seem fascinating. Like, they seem like poltergeist activity from the discussions that I've had before with other people, and I've heard of other people talk about elemental spirits as well, essentially spirits that were never human. They seem to be consciousnesses of, I don't even know where they're from, but they have a certain, I don't know, resonant frequency that seems to kind of make bizarre things happen. So, like, and I've had interactions with things like that before, and I don't understand what they are. So, yes, immediately leading this question. Before you came to us, like, were you interested in the paranormal? Did you have any sort of interest?
Always, actually, yeah. Always fascinated with the paranormal. But not really until later in life. I would have been probably after my wife and I got married. I think we kind of started watching some of those ghost shows with Jason and Grant. They were the plumbers. And then my kids loved the shows, so we got all into the shows and stuff. And yeah, and then so then we started going to haunted hotels like all over the country. We've been to several of those, had some weird things happen at some of those places. So yeah, we've always been interested in the paranormal. Now, to buy a place that actually has something going on, that was something we could have never imagined. We always joked about it if we buy an old house, like, oh, what if it's haunted? Haha. But it's I don't know. Maybe if you're open-minded to it, maybe it shows itself more. I don't know how that all works, but it just definitely seems like they know that we're acknowledging them, and I think that's why the activity just continues to happen here. The past couple days, it's been a little active, more than normal. It's those little cat ball things just have been lighting up. I actually was asking questions to one out that I have out in the family room. Was naming names to say who it was, and after I did say the name Martha, it did go off. It was kind of odd because I went through a list of like 3 other names before hers. And then after I said hers, then it went off because it had been going off previously that day. And I was trying to figure out, okay, so sometimes it seems like there's some intelligent response with those things. Sometimes it's just like random and you can't figure it out. So, but this room, when the paranormal investigators came last time, their batteries on their stuff, they say it drains. It drained. Their stuff drained. Their cameras or those REM pods and stuff were going crazy and like making them sounds they'd never heard before. So I don't know if there's a really weird energy in this house that other people that are more sensitive to it, can feel it. But everyone it seems that has that ability, like that when they walk in the house, they sense something different or some kind of energy. And then when you go to where I was telling you where I heard the high in the den, like there's a real energy in that room. And I don't know if that's where Harold passed. I don't know if that's where Martha passed, but we do know they both passed in the family room somewhere. So I don't know if that was the exact spot and that's why there's more energy there, or it's completely unrelated. This is the kind of stuff that we're investigating and trying to find out. And it's to me, it's really kind of interesting and exciting.
Yeah, it's the interactions that you have are quite benign, and but you're still living there, you're sort of being there, so I'm assuming that you feel safe there. So with that being said, and the activity that you're still experiencing, what do you want the book to say ultimately? What is the mission of the ghostwriter?
I mean, that's a really good question. Actually, I think with all of this, number one, I want and encourage people to always look into their ancestry and their history. And if you live in an older house, maybe even not an older house, find out about the people that live there. Even if you don't have anything going on, it's just fascinating what you can find out. I mean, I don't know. I would just encourage people to do research on history and learn about history, whether it's in your own home or other history. As far as the message, I mean, the book is supposed to be like a really, really scary horror novel. So from that standpoint, I want horror fans to read this, and just from a standalone book, not knowing any of the story. I hope it scares them. I hope we did something a little bit different that has never been done before in this genre, which I think we've accomplished. And like I said, I want to sell the book. This is my job right now. So it's going to be this book and hopefully the next one and hopefully the next one, and continue on to hopefully develop a screenplay for a motion picture. I mean, it's definitely going to be a full-time passion of mine now moving forward, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going no matter what. It seems to me, and this goes out to you and anyone, I think the more you connect with people and just get face to face. This is way out of my comfort zone, by the way. I usually like to be behind like the scenes, and I don't like to have my face on camera and that kind of stuff, typically. And unless it would be like, especially in a live situation, if it's a recorded situation and they can edit and make me look cooler, that's fine. But, as far as, I just want I hope the book does really, really well. And then I hope once people want to discover the story behind the book, they're like, wow, this is really something different and something special. And I'm super proud of it. So, never give up. Any door that shuts in your face that you think is a door that's shutting in your face, usually another door opens. And I have connected with so many wonderful people that I've never would have even just ever thought about talking to. Like I said, without the writer passing away in this house, none of this would be happening right now. There would be no book. I'd probably just be trying to figure out still what I'm going to do with my life. I have no creative outlet, because the writing comedy stuff dried up, and it's a really hard road to get into. Not that I always still try, but don't get me wrong. But yeah, so now I do have this creative passion again. So it's like when one door closes, another opens. Just sometimes you just have to walk through that door and just take a chance. So yeah, if you have a dream, go for it, because I'm 53 years old and I don't have much more time. So if I got a dream, I got to go for it now,
Yeah.
So
because it's amazing how these paranormal events seem to catapult you into areas that, like, say for you, it's always like a new type of writing, really, like, and obviously with this to be more, more at the forefront than working in the back as well. And yeah, that maybe trying something new. And I hope your book does really well, and you get that film contract eventually. I mean, it would ask my friend. Yeah, a few episodes ago we had John Zhang on. The episode, I think, too, and he's a friend of mine. Like, I met him years ago working at this company, and he was actually running the reception desk at this university and doing other things. And well, in the space of that, 2 years later, he's literally working in Hollywood. Actually, 2 years later, about 2 to 3 years later, he was working in Hollywood. He's like trained martial artist, and he just kept going for it and trying and failing. Eventually, he's been in like The Immortals and Hobbs and Shaw and The Brother's Son. He plays I think you watch The Brother's Son. I think now at the moment he's like literally recording an He-Man as well, and the He-Man remake. Like, you can go from one thing to a completely new area and feel it in instant. And
yeah, it's never too late. Really, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. You got to find yourself and find your passion. And once you find that passion, it's like not really working. It's just a matter of how do you find a way to make money doing it, but in an ethical way that doesn't screw people over too. I want to do it the right way. I'm not going to, I found so many genuine people now that are in England for some reason. Y'all love this book and the story over there in England. I appreciate y'all, because I thought you'd still be mad at us for the Civil War, or the Revolutionary War, not the Civil War, because I know it wasn't me. I didn't do any of that. I was not involved in the Revolutionary War, so don't be mad about it. It's cool. We're good. We're all good, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how say one, maybe I should mention to John so he can be part of your the movie representation of it. If you want him to play you, that's cool. He's like a really strong Wesley martial arts star. But no, what I say this story resonates with me so much is because of my childhood home. Because I won't take too much of your time anyway, but I grew up in Oxford, and we lived in this property that was built at the end of the Second World War. So it was actually specifically built for soldiers at the time that were recovering from the Second World War, and just tried to start a new life, basically. And we actually moved there in the 90s, just me, my mum, my sister, and basically we moved in following an accident that I had, where I had like crazy out-of-body experience, and I met this kind of bizarre entity, and this thing seemed to follow me home into this house. And this is what, because I learned how to become a writer because of this connection that I had. Because previously I had no experience writing a book. I'm not a great writer. Then because of this whole situation, I forced myself to tell the story. And this thing basically harassed us for years in this property, like pure poltergeist. So we had items in the living room where I live, where I sat most evenings, actually. Like, there's like a bowl full of sweets, just exploded off the table. And no one there did it touch, literally jumped off the table and exploded all across the brick. We had like whistling in the house, like me and one of the family members said that we had friends that heard it, and we were just known as the whistling house. Over time, they just got used to this kind of bizarre, whatever it was in the house. And we had, me and my sister in the middle of the night used to hear like a party, and there was like people laughing, like you say, like plating glasses, and quite like, happy conversation. We thought it came from outside, but we realized actually it's making.
That's crazy! Wow.
And, but yeah, loads of other ways to happen. Like in the end, it kind of ended up with almost like a vortex opening in the room that I was living in, and when it went quite dark, like maybe in so many ways, it like distorted reality. And long story short, like this whole kind of story ends, and my friend who happened to be a medium at the time, just came to the rescue, and like, I didn't know what medium was back in the day, and she had like one almighty fight with this horrible thing that was in my house that we learned just basically followed me over in the hospital like many years ago. And yeah, she kicked this thing's backside, basically kicked his ass, and eventually it left. But yeah, but if I'd never been through that experience, I wouldn't even believe in the paranormal now, because I've literally been almost reluctant to believe paranormal. I didn't want to believe any of that, but I feel like I have to now hold that knowledge. And I kept it secret for many years, and it's only till now, like now I'm 40 now anyway, so it took me until about a couple of years ago to start putting that story down on paper and just letting it out and not being, not being ashamed of it anymore. So yeah, I was thinking some pretty crazy things. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely people don't believe you. People always think you're lying and whatever BS. And yeah, I mean, whatever. We know like what we experience, and like, so I just, what it is. Those people like aren't going to believe no matter what, they could literally see a video of an apparition and they'd say, oh no, of course it's fake. Or they could see one in front of them and they'd say, no, it was this, it was that, so I don't know, then that's the wild thing about this story too, is like, I'm not here to convince anyone, but I have the proof in a way and documentation, because I literally have documentation of all the deaths that occurred in the house. I have documentation of all the crimes that have been committed on the street. I have documentation of everything. So like it backs up everything I'm saying is completely true. You know what I mean? So now we're just trying to find out again who these people are and why they're here. Again, we have 3 names so far that we think are here. But apparently there are around 7 spirits in the house. And then there are also animal spirits in the house, of a dog, some cats. When the medium comes here, like she gets really drained from all she says, the energy going around in the house. So, and I don't feel that all the time, but I do feel it sometimes. And when you feel it, man, you can definitely feel it. And that's kind of sometimes when it corresponds with televisions being turned on or turned off, or, the cat ball going off at that time. Hearing the whisper, it's just like, it just, you get this weird sensation that kind of, I don't know. It's hard to describe if you haven't experienced it before, but you've obviously experienced it before. So, what I'm talking about, you can definitely see it.
I believe it anyway, because I can hear just from the tone of your voice and like the way, like you're a very thoughtful person as well. Anyway, I can kind of tell that in the way it comes across though, but I've been through many years of my life, like being on my own, because the religious organization I was part of growing up, like bizarrely, like you couldn't speak to the dead, but the guy that you pray to was dead and has been dead for thousands of years, which didn't really make sense to me. But I had to kind of like hold that, because I didn't want to be judged. And there are people out there who've experienced what you've experienced and I've experienced, who just keep it locked away, and it does eat away at you over time, because it's like it's a knowing. When you have that knowing and keep it inside, it's just like, yeah, it's almost like you don't want to proclaim it and shout it in the streets, and it's not like that though. But it's just like it's knowing another entirely new reality that you were told previously, didn't exist or isn't possible. So we've had some pretty wild stories on this podcast so far. Like we're just complete our first year, and we've had all sorts of like people experiencing like knocks coming from upstairs, and essentially this entity sounding like it fell down the stairs, landed at the end of the staircase, bending this door, but literally walking the door in reality, like not breaking it yet, and then eventually returned back. Amazing medium Penny we had a while ago, she sees spirits all the time, so she like kind of like what's that, the Sixth Sense. She sees people all the time, like, as if as you would see me stood here. And there's people that just live it and breathe it, but they never choose it. It's always nice to just go, I thought, just seemed like becoming a medium, so I feel like seeing ghosts today, it's quite something you would just thrust into for whatever reason. And I would like to believe there's a reason for everything. So like I said, I think there's a reason why you came to that property, and maybe that might be the start of like another big chapter for you. Because I know it's kind of pulled you into the ghost sort of paranormal side of things, which I think you have a natural association with anyway. But and maybe this slightly sort of sparked your next chapter of your writing career as well. Like, and so I know you like to write kind of comedy, so maybe it like kind of gives you a bit of creative energy. Because also one thing I didn't tell you is after I had my out-of-body experience, I went from not being a creative person to being a creative person. So I woke up just a couple of days later after my major operation, I could draw. I was only a kid, but I could draw like as if I was at years advanced. But ever since then, like that's fueled my career and what I do today, basically. So if I didn't have that situation, scary though it was, I wouldn't have, had the job that I have now and can do the things that I can do. So sometimes it literally changes you and things to do. So maybe bring new energy out to do what you want to do.
It's like, yeah, it's total. I think it's karma too. The energy that you put out is the energy that you get back. And so I always try to put out, kind, good energy to people, and try to be understanding, and try not to take things personally when they say your book sucks or whatever. It is what it is, man. Not everyone's gonna like you, and not everyone's gonna believe you, but there are so many good people that have shared similar experiences that, like you said, some that may have never even talked about them before because they think like, oh, they're gonna think I'm crazy. But man, there's so many people that have had paranormal experiences. Like, there's if people that say there's nothing to it, I just kind of laugh and just saying like, well, that's like you're saying that there's no life in the universe either, and we're here alone on Earth, right? So, to me, it's small-minded, very small-minded.
Yeah, I think I think the most intelligent thing you can say is today that you don't really know anything. That's the thing in comparison to what we could know about the universe, the way things work, the interconnectedness of things. Like there's so much out there to learn, and like say, like what's happening in your property now, and most likely will continue, is just like a tiny bit of a much bigger puzzle that you could argue as to whether it's like the crossing of realities. For example, sometimes there are layers of reality, and sometimes you do get crossover where certain things can interact with others. Sometimes you do get obviously life form things, which yours most likely is. Obviously, I can't speak for you and tell you that. It's up to you to decide. But and there are other people that could say as well, like this psychic kinetic energy. And I'm almost thinking back to Ghostbusters 1. If you've ever watched that, about when this I forgot his name now. But just doing the psychic test as well to see. I know he was using it to get the attention of this girl though, but yeah, the fact is, some people also believe that essentially the power of the mind can affect reality as well. There's so many different explanations that we can look around, even if, just moving away, police should be saying that's not true. But there's so many different variations of things we could say, like explanation wise, but eventually, we do find out why these things happen. And yeah. Have you ever read, it just makes me think a story that you've written. Have you ever read the book called The Blue Island? That rings any bells. When did you get that read? If you had the time.
No, actually, honestly, I don't read books. Honestly, I don't read. I hate reading. That's why a part of this reason this book was written is a miracle, because I hate to read. And it's a 320-page book of someone that hates to read, and my author hated scary stuff. So yeah, so this is how this came out, and I don't know how, but the way I learn actually is I listen and I watch. I don't have a good comprehension when it comes to reading. So that's partly why when I would think of trying to write a book, it's just like I go over the same part like 20 times, and then I can't. I just paralyze myself. So like I'm really good with quick stuff. Yeah, it's just my brain doesn't work that way, So so it was just so great that this thing even happened, because I literally don't read. It's embarrassing to say, but I don't. So I should. I should try.
There's times where I kind of force myself to read because like the subject's interesting enough. And yeah, I read The Blue Island a while ago, and essentially like it's basically a book written by somebody who's passed over. So the idea is this medium is actually channeling somebody who's passed over from the Titanic disaster, which sounds a bit profound though. But essentially, like I think about 2/3 of the book is actually written through like a few channeling sessions. they've obviously had to clean up the spellings and such like that, though. But essentially, it's about somebody who's passed over to the other side and is now describing his transition and the process. But basically, the whole story starts around a few bizarre kind of connections that leads somebody to actually end up channeling this person. Essentially, somebody used the medium as a contact to continue. So, like I mentioned earlier in this conversation, it's somebody trying to kind of give them a bit of a boost, give you a bit of a kick as well to kind of like, hey, let's try something entirely new and tell this amazing story. And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, good on you.
Yeah, it's definitely. I feel like I'm channeling Harold for sure. I mean, I don't. There's no other way to explain this whole thing, honestly, man. Because, like I said, if Harold didn't die here, we wouldn't be talking right now. That's the truth. He lit a fire under me that gave me a passion and a creative outlet again to use my skill and my creativity and talent to come up with something unique and different, and like maybe again that he just wants his name back out there again and in the New York Times. Because again, when people know the real story, it's pretty amazing that, he is responsible for this book, even if it wasn't paranormal, he's responsible for this book. So, yeah,
that is incredible.
It's remarkable.
And so I suppose, like, rounding up, the conversation really, like, so you said that there'll be future books, like, so where do you think it might be headed next in terms of the tour? Do you have more stories to tell?
Yeah. So what, unfortunately, part of the book was when I was doing the history research and stuff, I started finding out about crimes that have been committed on our streets. Streets, not just my street behind me, the street over, several streets over the course of the many years. There have been several horrible crimes in just this neighborhood alone. So I started digging and I found an article in 1998, 2 doors down from me, a grandson took the life of his grandmother. And then a year after that, in 1999, a few doors down and across the street from there, there was a double unsolved homicide from 2 people that had passed away from someone breaking in and using force on them. And that actually is still an unsolved mystery in the city of Fort Worth. That happened in, like I said, 1999, so a year after the other one happened. And then in 2020, a mother took the life of her 4-year-old daughter, and that's on the next block down. That one, she had mental issues and was hearing voices. Apparently something was telling her to do this to her child, or something worse was going to happen. So she did something, and then ended up putting it in a trash can, and then called 911, and the police, she just confessed to the police. And absolutely horrible. So, once I started finding these things out, I'm like, first of all, where did we move? Number one. Number two, it was, kind of like, wow, this is all literally right by my house. And we also found out that next door in the 2010s, the gentleman that lived next door went into his backyard and took his own life. And I also found out on the other side of me in 1911, the 16-year-old that lived there died of typhoid fever. And then I found out in 1923, there was a big fire and explosion around right by my house, where several houses were destroyed and damaged. And then in 1914, I found an article about a kid who was hunting with his buddies and accidentally, fired, and hit himself and fell to the ground off of a boxcar, which the train tracks are like pretty much right across the street almost. And then the article, they ran to this house here to call the ambulance. So that must have been a pretty traumatic night, I would assume, at this house. I found out there's a cat cemetery in my backyard. So all this stuff that I found out, then we, kind of sprinkled into the book. Now, the neighborhood's not like like it's not that bad. It was actually designated a historic district in 1990, and after that they started cleaning up the area, fixing up the houses, so now it's really blossomed into a really nice community, and it's we feel safe, and I mean, you got to keep your eyes out like you do anywhere else in the world, but it's definitely a better place to live now. But the history of the tragedies are pretty amazing, and when people talk about curses and Comanches and all that stuff, it makes you wonder, the street's kind of cursed, but sorry about that. But the next book, so am I planning more books? Yes. So the next book is going to take place basically on the street behind me, and I'm going to take 3 of those crimes I've already found out and sprinkle those in to the book. What I do is I mix the reality of what's going on in these streets. I go street by street, and unfortunately the 3 crime seems to be about enough for a horror novel, because horror novel is like about 320 pages. I think that's about what our book is. So we found that using 3 of those real stories, and we completely made them fiction, and Hollywooded them, of course, and it's more Conjuring and Shining and that kind of vibe. But so then I'll just go to the next street, and then after the 3rd book I go to the next street, and they're all real crimes that have happened. It's horrible. It's a horrible formula to have to come up with, but it works for horror, so, and they're true stories, so people can actually, if they desire to dig into those stories, if they're into true crime, they could delve into that. I'm not going to delve into the true crime stuff. I have no interest in that. It's actually really hard for me to even read about that stuff. When I found out about it, that did kind of shake me 1 or 2 doors down, and I could see that house just looking out my window right now. So yeah, it's from that standpoint, I don't want to glamorize it, so in the book I actually made I made the victims like angels and good people, and to try to honor the memory of these crimes, in a positive way in the book that make them good, good, and I don't know. Something like that.
Sounds awesome. Like, yeah, it seems to be from what you were telling me, like there's something about the area, basically, like, I wonder if it did influence things that happen, or if it's just keeping the energy going now, but I'm really glad that they invested in the community and kind of brought it back to life. We have better things over here in the UK where we have like what we call kind of listed properties, so that property is protected by government as a sort of recognised historical property. So they could be like a kind of property that is no longer built, basically, though, and it's kind of representative of like history or a plot of land, and so on. Though, just preserving it for future generations to appreciate and enjoy. And I'm really, really glad that's something being done over there, because like I know America's still a relatively young country in comparison, but so much has happened there over the last couple of 100 years. Like there's a lot of beautiful locations as well that should always be appreciated and renewed for future generations. So so just like rounding up this conversation, really. So yeah, thank you, Brian, for being here. Like, it's just great to hear your stories, and yeah, it's not clear. Like I say, it's closely relates to something that I went through anyway, and I think I'll do it from here. If you want to anyway, I'm happy to send you a copy of my book once it does get released. It's ages away and not until March next year anyway, though, but I hope it will kind of make sense and there's the similarities.
Just let me know when it's out, man. I'll just buy it. I'll buy it from you. I like to buy the books of authors, man, so support, one another instead of just like getting a copy. So yeah, let me know and I'll buy it.
Yeah, like I say, it's just a great lesson for one in somebody being thrust into a situation they didn't expect, making good out of it, and it's a joy of storytelling, and also inspire people to learn more about the paranormal. And I know your stories are inspired by paranormal events, but this sparks an interest that people have at the moment that seems to be growing, and that people seem to just want to learn more about the world, like their version of reality or their view of reality is beginning to evolve now. And they're beginning to question, like, the lives of lived before. Like I did, really. Like I said, I'm reluctant believer in the paranormal. Like, I kind of have no choice but to now, because of the things that I've seen that are pretty mind-blowing. So, yeah, thank you for Brian for taking the time. And if you want to kind of come back again in the future, tell more stories, then you're always welcome to. And good luck with your next book.
Giving a voice to those without a choice, sharing dreams and blowing off steam. We'll lend you a hand, we'll let you stand, sharing stories about the unknown. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the unknown. Who you gonna call? I'm not a ghostbuster, no proton packs, just crossing streams of knowledge. It's not so scary when things get hairy. It's not the paranormal, just future normal. Breaking barriers, no longer the carrier, releasing the fear and replacing it with knowledge. Understanding each other, we uncover a whole new point of view within you. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the unknown. The only stream we need to cross is the platforms to get the message across. Knowing each other, sister to brother. No ghost or spirit or demon will ever get the better of this medium. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from